Hello, my name is Shauna Young, and today we're going to be learning about positive behavior and ways to accommodate that. Introduction to the problem. What's happened? Well, educators are having a harder time balancing students with social, emotional, and behavioral challenges, along with trying to reach high academic outcomes. This wasn't in the manual. Many educators believe that they didn't sign up for taking care of their students' behaviors, but instead only there to educate. While it is our job to educate, it is also our job to teach behavioral skills. Get rid of them. Many educators believe that the way out is through suspension. It turns out that suspension only makes things worse for the student and reinforces their problem behavior. Positive behavior support. The definition of this is a major initiative that has developed over the past decade in order to shift the focus of behavior management away from reactive, negative approaches to more proactive, positive ones. This positive behavior support involves research-validated practices in enhancing the capacity of environments. Research on positive behavior support. It's grounded in applied behavioral analysis, which means that it's supported scientific studies supported by over 30 years of research. The main research foundation is traditional gold standard of quantitative experimental research. There is flexibility with respect to scientific approaches. Three-tiered model. In the three-tier model, we can see that at the bottom, which is the first tier, students without serious, this involves students without serious problem behaviors, which consist of 80 to 90% of the students. These are all students in the school. The second tier is students at risk for problem behavior, which is between 5 and 15% of the students. The third tier is students with chronic or intense problem behavior, which is 1 to 7% of the students. The first tier involves the whole class. The second tier involves small groups, and the third tier involves individual instruction. Functional Behavior Assessment, also known as FBA. This examines why problem behaviors occur in order to guide prevention and intervention efforts, thereby increasing efficiency and effectiveness. 3 concepts of FBA. 1. Setting events. For example, you know it's going to be a bad day when blank. So an example of this would be, you know it's going to be a bad day when he spent the night at Dad's rather than Mom's. Number 2, triggering antecedents. Triggering antecedents. They're known as the straw that broke the camel's back. When the student is already feeling negative emotions, anxiety, anger, or disappointment, and then something happens to trigger everything, and that results in problem behavior. 3. Maintaining consequences, also known as payoff or what the student gets out of it. Usually thought of as punishment to discourage problem behavior from happening again. But actually, the student may not even be aware that they are doing it. Therefore, the educator must identify the reinforcer or also why the student is doing what he or she is doing. Process of evaluating the child with FBA. Gather and analyze students' behavior as well as information that is causing the behavior. By doing this, you can talk with parents or other teachers that the student has just to get the information on what exactly this is causing the student's behavior. And after that, after gathering as much information involving the behavior, the FBA team will decide what actions need to be taken in order to help the behavior. Common functions of problem behavior. Number 1, to get attention or a reaction from peers and adults. Reinforcing the behavior when interrupting the class to talk to them. They want the attention because they never get any. Number 2, to get something tangible. They behave inappropriately in order to receive a current fixation. So an example would be hunger. Many students do not have enough food or do not get enough food. Therefore, they will have problem behavior in order to receive food. to get power or control. Individuals are manipulative, op- oppositional, defiant, stubborn, rebellious, and non-compliant. Therefore, they will try to persuade the teacher into getting what they want. To meet a necessary need, seeking movement, deep pressure, or tactile stimulation. So many students you will see are causing a problem or an interruption in the classroom when really they're just seeking to have some like a sensory need. To communicate feelings, wants, and needs, problems in representative and or expressive language in a society which academics and social interaction is the main focus. The next one is as a result of a lack of understanding, they struggle in the area of pragmatics, which refers to the social rules of language. So they don't understand that they have a problem behavior and they're unaware of it. To escape or avoid something, students want a way out because school can be a difficult environment to the students with behavior difficulties. Bottom line of FBA: behavior is rarely just behavior. In other words, basic biological or emotional needs that cannot be expressed appropriately. Educators must consider the behavior and why it might be happening. Model for intervention. Definition of this is that it provides a foundation for educators that help them design an intervention that encourages students to meet the functions of problem behavior in a more socially acceptable way. The 4 different domains of model for intervention is instruction, prevention, reinforcement, and undesirable consequences. What I've learned throughout this process, is how I can accommodate to children who are struggling with behavioral problems, what FBA is and how it is processed, and also how I can use model of interventions to help design interventions to fix problem behavior. Part 2. Introduction. This is a lesson for behavior. The character count standard that this covers is treating others with respect. Where the lesson fits in with the tiers, this lesson fits in with the first and second tier, which includes all of the students and small groups. The anticipatory step for this lesson involves teaching students to not be interruptive in the classroom or at home. So, for example, I could ask the students how interrupting the teacher might cause a problem. And an answer for this would be that it distracts the entire class. I could also ask the class, how does interrupting another classmate cause a problem? And an answer for this could be, may make them feel like what they are saying isn't good enough or isn't important enough. The purpose or objective of this lesson: after this lesson, students will be able to treat their fellow classmates as well as their teacher with respect, as well as know different techniques to help them from blurting out. Input: 2 key terms that the students should know in order to be able to do this lesson. They should know what interrupt means, which means cutting someone off or talking when someone else is talking. They should also know what respect means, which means accounting for someone else's feelings or having consideration for others. And here is the book I'm reading. My Mouth is a Volcano, written by Julia. Here you can watch my video, My Mouth is a Volcano, that I have read, that students will be able to go to listen to my recording of the book. And then this is guided practice, which is a worksheet that I have made up for the book that My Mouth is a Volcano. So here are some of the questions that you could ask or the teacher could ask about the book. Check for understanding. How I would check for understanding is I would use small groups for discussion about the topic and what they have learned. Small groups will consist of around 2 to 3 students in a group. Bringing what they have talked about in small groups to a whole class discussion. So after they've talked about it in small groups, then we could talk about it as a whole group to see what they have come up with. Also observing who is talking in small groups and who seems to be paying attention and understands and who isn't really participating. To that way you can kind of see who is for sure understanding it and who may be having some trouble with it. Independent practice. Have each small group come up with an idea that they can use in order to stop themselves from interrupting. Closure. At the end of this lesson, I hope that students will understand some of the ways that we can treat others with respect, as well as some different ways that we can stop ourselves from interrupting in the classroom and at home. And that is it. Thank you.